Welcome to Change Your Story, the podcast that helps women build a fit mind, a fit body, and a fit life from the inside out.
I'm your host and transformation coach, Hannah Dawson. I'm a personal trainer, nutrition educator, and mindset mentor, and I am here to help you feel strong, confident, and free in your body. Not by starving, shrinking, or punishing yourself, but by training with a purpose, eating with a purpose, and having faith through the process so you can change the way you see yourself forever. Inside this podcast, we break free from diet culture, perfectionism, and all the stories that have held you back. We rewrite the new ones rooted in truth, strength, and self-love. You will hear real talk, faith-fueled encouragement, proven fitness and nutrition strategies, and the mindset tools you need to stay consistent, stay focused, and believe in yourself again. If you are ready to stop starting over, build a life you love, and finally change your story, you are in the right place. Let's build a fit mind, a fit body, and a fit life. Let's rewrite your story. What is up, you guys? Welcome back to the podcast for our Friday quickie. Who doesn't love a little quickie when it comes to some motivation, some inspiration, some encouragement on your journey? I know we are going deep on the podcast, and I'm just feeling led to go deep here. The podcast is called Change Your Story. And, unless we get to the foundation, unless we get to the root of things, you can't build a house on not a solid foundation. It just won't stand. And sometimes we have to do the hard work. Sometimes we have to do the uncomfortable work. But it's only when we start at that place that we really start uncovering who we truly are. Just like I talked about in the last episode, Soul Rebel, and just really getting uncomfortable with the uncomfortable questions we have to start asking ourselves. And healing doesn't come from a place of comfort. Most times healing is painful. Healing is, being willing to go to those uncomfortable places, and being okay with what is being revealed to us, being okay with, that it may not look like what we thought it was going to look like. And so today we're really talking about your habits being the mirror of your self-worth. And so I know on Tuesday, we talked about being a soul rebel. So like questioning the beliefs that we inherited. But here's the thing, once we start questioning, the next place is to look at your habits, because your habits are the mirror reflecting what you truly believe about your worth. And that can be scary. That can be very, confronting. It can be very uncomfortable, because sometimes we have gotten really uncomfortable or comfortable lying to ourselves. We call this self-sabotage or limited beliefs. It's something that keeps us stuck in a loop. All right. We get out for a bit and then we go back. And a lot of the time we don't know why we're doing it. And if we're stuck in a loop, it's also called the story. It's called the story is stuck on repeat, and the story needs to change. I don't know if some of you listened to the podcast episodes where I shared my story of how I grew up, but, even after I got sober and had this, met the man of my dreams and had this beautiful life, I still didn't feel different. And it wasn't until I started confronting the story, my belief systems on every single level, not just on my looks, not just on my appearance. It started there. Of course it started there. But then it had to go deeper. And so my hope, my goal, my prayer as your coach, as your mentor, as a person to speak to your heart and your mind is to help you go deeper, to really help you have that soul level freedom, to really help you start asking yourself those hard questions, no matter what anybody thinks. You don't need anybody's opinion to change your beliefs. You don't need anybody's approval to love yourself fully, wholeheartedly, to start venturing out and start really getting curious about life and not being scared to venture out, not being scared to be open-minded with what life has to offer you and give you and provide you. And it's just, that's like when life becomes really magical, I think. And so, I want to ask you, what are your habits? What are the habits that you have in your thoughts? What are the habits that you have in your language, your words? What are those habits? What are your habits with your body? Your movement, your nutrition, your sleep? Would you say those habits are helping you? Would you say those habits are making you into the best version of yourself? What about the habits in your environment? What is surrounding you? Who do you spend time with? What do you consume? What do you tolerate? What are your habits when you are stressed, lonely, or empty? Every one of these is a reflection of your self-worth. Here's the thing. If the mirror itself is distorted, you cannot fix yourself by changing what you see. The more you try to fix, the more warped it becomes. And that's why so many of us work harder, diet stricter, give more, hustle more, and it never feels enough. Because we're trying to fix the reflection instead of repairing the mirror. I know for me, this was huge for many, many years of my life. And, I think from the time I was a little girl, I rejected the girl that felt like she wasn't enough. And it wasn't that I wasn't enough. I was just in environments that couldn't support what I needed, from the love, from the care, from the support, from the nurturing. And so I took that on as I wasn't enough. And so my mirror was very distorted from a very young age. And I really took that on appearance-wise. So I felt like, and because my fitness journey too, when I was fit, when I lost the weight, I got more attention and more approval. And so I took that on as I was better when I looked a certain way. So my fix for many years was looking a certain way, having certain things, being likable, being lovable. And if I wasn't for any moment, even if someone gave me the wrong look, I would crumble. It would break my heart. It would, make me feel like I was a failure, make me feel unlovable. So I would morph, I would turn into a chameleon just to fit into the environment, whether that was with my body, whether that was with my religion, whether that was with my family, whether that was with certain communities or certain friend groups. I think the biggest fear that I had was being rejected, because I had felt rejected so many times from the moment I was a little girl. And so rejection for me was huge. And so I rejected myself. So it's funny because I was so afraid of rejection, but here I was rejecting myself to fit into molds, to be approved by other people. And so my mirror was distorted. So I kept making choices from a place of emptiness, from a place of brokenness, from a place of distortion. Here's the thing. Destructive habits don't always look destructive. In fact, they often look good to other people or even ourselves because, an example, I wasn't drinking anymore. But I was going to church and I was being this good girl and I was doing all of these things. And to other people that may have looked good. And I would, read my Bible and I would do all of these things and everything was out of performance. And I didn't see it then. I obviously see it now, winning love, winning approval, whether that was with God, with the people in the community or the people in the religion, whether that was with my family. If I could be this girl, I could be more lovable. And so from the outside, those habits, they didn't look destructive, but they were. And they were because they weren't coming from a place of authenticity. They weren't coming from a place of self-worth. They were coming from a place of not enough. They were coming from a place of people pleasing. They weren't coming from my truest identity. They were coming from a warped belief system, from a distorted mirror. They were coming from a place of finding my validation and approval from other people. And so whether this was, my religion, whether this was with my body and with working out, whether this was in my marriage as a mom, in communities, in friendships, in friend groups, it was destructive because it was keeping me from being fully myself. That's why it was destructive. It was destructive on a soul level. And so I want to say this is that a lot of the time, destructive habits can come masked in things that look good. It could be overworking looks like discipline, but it's actually coming from a place of punishment. You feel me? Or restricting food looks like health, but it's rejection. Or settling in a relationship looks like loyalty, but it's just fear. Or it could look like overgiving looks like kindness, but it's desperation for approval. To the outside, it looks good. To your soul, it's compromise. And when we compromise, we will always look for a way to escape, to numb, to isolate. Most destructive habits will come at a cost. Most destructive habits will come from numbing because there is a part of you that is calling to be free, but instead of listening, you bury it. And some of those habits, they aren't even ours. They are inherited from our family, culture, community, churches. And people often mean well. That's not what I'm saying. A lot of this time, this comes from people that mean well, that love us. But here's the thing, just because they love us and just because they mean well, doesn't mean that they're healed and doesn't mean that their story is healed. And so when they love us, they can still have old wounds and broken stories and limited beliefs that they pass on, not on purpose, not to hurt us. They love us, but they just do. And that's the thing. When we're looking in a distorted mirror, we can tell another person what to fix because the mirror is distorted, but it will never be able to fix them because what our lens is looking through is distortion. And so we can never really truly help a person be free unless we have been free ourselves and done the healing ourselves. And so, we end up getting generationally, trauma just being passed on, and one level of distortion to another version of distortion to another. And so your worth cannot be tied to someone else's approval, not family, not your community, not culture, because if it is, you will live in compromise instead of freedom. And so what I want to say is your habits, they don't lie. They are a mirror of your self-worth. And if you want to change your habits, you have to fix the mirror, the story underneath, the belief system that is running it all. You've got to get rid of the mirror. You've got to get a new lens. You've got to get a new mirror to look in, one that is not distorted, one that shows you and reflects back to you who you truly are. And it will never until the story is healed, until the story is challenged, until the belief system is changed. And here's the bridge. Your environments, your relationships, your routines, they carry a vibrational frequency. Stay with me here. The vibration is directly tied to your belief system. And so this is where we are headed next, you guys, is the law of vibration, okay? You are worth more than distortion, worth more than compromise, and worth a life that reflects who you truly are. And so how do we start attracting and seeing and removing the distortion to finally see who we are and start living the life, living in the body, and fully loving everything we are and everything we were created to be? Remember, when you change your story, you change the mirror. And when you change the mirror, you change the reflection, your habits, your life, and you finally align with your worth. And so, like I said, next week we are diving into the law of vibration. And trust me, it is going to connect everything we've been talking about. I am such a nerd for this stuff. I am so excited for this stuff to teach you everything that I've been learning and really working on myself. Because I never share what I don't personally go through and what has given me revelation. And I don't share it because I'm saying this is what you have to do. I share, you guys, in hopes to ignite or light up maybe a part that you felt in the dark before. I don't share for you to say my way is the way. It's not, but I hope that it sheds a light for you for whatever area you feel just stuck or in the dark. And I hold up a light for you in that dark place, and I say, you know what? Here's a step you can take. Here's a thought you can think. Here's a habit you can try. So until then, keep choosing habits that reflect your true worth. I love you all. If this podcast hit home, please share it. That's all. My only ask is if you would share this podcast, you'd give it a rating. It's on the homepage. You hit the stars, you leave a review. You can share it with 3 friends you know it would impact their heart and their mind. That is my goal, you guys, this year, is to reach 100,000 women and impact your heart and your mind so much that your life radically is transformed for the better. I love you so much. Until next time, bye for now.